Lately, it's felt like you're carrying a version of yourself that no longer fully makes sense, like you've been moving through your days almost on autopilot, while something deeper inside you keeps asking a question you can't quite answer. And it's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's persistent, like a quiet voice that doesn't go away no matter how busy you try to keep yourself. And what makes it harder is that you can't easily explain it to anyone, because from the outside, your life might look stable, even normal, but internally, there's this subtle disconnect, like you've outgrown something but you're still standing in it, still playing a role that once fit you but now feels slightly off, and you haven't fully admitted that yet, have you? Because admitting it would mean acknowledging that something needs to change, and change, even when it's necessary, carries its own kind of weight, especially when you don't have a clear picture of what comes next. And so you've been sitting in this in-between space, trying to understand what you're feeling without rushing into decisions, trying to stay grounded while everything internally feels like it's shifting in slow, uncertain ways. And there's also a part of you that wonders if this is just overthinking, if maybe you're creating a problem where there isn't one, but deep down, you know this isn't just your mind, because the feeling doesn't fade, it lingers. It shows up in the quiet moments, in the pauses between conversations, in the ways certain things that used to excite you now feel neutral or even draining. And that realization is difficult to sit with, because it challenges the version of yourself you've been holding on to. And there's a kind of grief in that, even if you haven't named it yet. Grief for the identity that once felt certain, for the direction that once felt clear. And now you're here, trying to understand who you are becoming without fully knowing what that means. And that uncertainty can feel heavy, especially when you're used to having some sense of control, some sense of direction. And now it feels like you're being asked to trust something you can't see yet, something that hasn't fully revealed itself. And that's not easy, because it requires a different kind of strength. One that isn't about pushing forward or forcing answers, but about staying present in the discomfort long enough for clarity to form. And that's where the tension has been building, in that space between who you've been and who you're starting to sense you might be. And it's not a clean transition. It's not something that happens overnight. It's gradual, layered, and sometimes confusing, because parts of your old identity still feel familiar, still feel safe, even if they no longer feel completely true. And letting go of that familiarity is not something you do lightly, especially when you've built parts of your life around it. But this is where something deeper is beginning to unfold, something that goes beyond surface level change, something that is tied to your core. And this is where Archangel Michael begins to work in a way that is subtle but powerful. Not by giving you immediate answers or sudden clarity, but by creating space within you for truth to rise, by gently removing the illusions, expectations, and pressures that have been shaping your identity from the outside, and allowing you to see yourself more clearly without all that noise. And this process, while necessary, can feel isolating at times, because it separates you from the versions of yourself that others may still expect you to be. And that can create a sense of distance, not just from people, but from the life you've been living. And that distance is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is being realigned, because your identity is not meant to stay fixed. It is meant to evolve as you grow. And right now, you're in a phase where that evolution is happening internally before it becomes visible externally. And that's why it feels unclear, because you're experiencing the shift before you can fully see the outcome. And that requires patience. The kind of patience that doesn't come easily when you're used to having answers. But it is necessary, because rushing this process would only lead you back into roles or paths that don't truly fit. And you're being guided away from that, even if it doesn't feel like guidance in a moment, because as it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3 verse 5. And that doesn't mean ignoring your thoughts or your reasoning. It means recognizing that not everything can be understood immediately, that some things reveal themselves over time as you continue to move forward with awareness and honesty. And right now, honesty is what matters most. Honesty with yourself about what feels aligned and what doesn't, about what you've been holding on to out of habit rather than truth, about what parts of your identity were shaped by fear rather than authenticity. And those realizations, while uncomfortable, are the foundation of real clarity. Because once you see something clearly, you can no longer pretend it isn't there. And that is where your transformation begins to take a more defined shape. Not all at once, not in a way that answers every question, but in a way that gives you enough understanding to take the next step. And that step might be small. It might be something as simple as acknowledging what no longer feels right, or allowing yourself to explore what does, without judgment, without pressure to have everything figured out, because this is not about having all the answers immediately. It's about allowing your identity to unfold in a way that is honest and sustainable. And as this continues, you will start to notice that the confusion you've been feeling begins to shift, not into perfect clarity, but into a quieter sense of knowing, a feeling that you are moving in the right direction, even if you can't fully explain why. And that feeling is something you can trust because it is not coming from external expectations. It is coming from within, from a place that is becoming more aligned with your truth. And as it is written, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8, verse 32. And that freedom is not about escaping your life. It's about living it in a way that feels real to you, in a way that is not constrained by outdated versions of yourself. And that kind of freedom takes time to build. It takes willingness to let go of what no longer fits, even when it's familiar, even when it's comfortable. And that is what you're being guided toward right now. Not a sudden change, not a forced decision, but a gradual, steady alignment with who you are becoming. And that process, as uncertain as it may feel, is leading you somewhere more stable, more honest, more true than where you've been. And one day, not far from now, you will look back at this phase and realize that this wasn't confusion at all. It was the beginning of clarity. It was the moment where your identity started to shift into something more real. And even though it didn't make sense at the time, it was exactly what needed to happen for you to step into the next version of your life with a deeper sense of understanding, a stronger sense of self, and a quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove itself to anyone because it is rooted in truth.